welcome back to American Sunrise. I'm Dr. G. Thanks for joining us this morning. We invite you to hop in our conversation on YouTube, Getter, and Rumble. It's time now to take the political pulse of America. Here's the beat today. The 2028 presidential race is already taking shape in some ways, and if grassroots conservatives are any indication, could run straight through the Rust Belt. At AmFest, attendees named Vice President JD Vance as the odds-on favorite to carry the MAGA torch. This is 3 years out, though. President Donald Trump, though, and many saying the future of conservatism will be built by the team Trump created. Erica Kirk even offered a full-on endorsement when she took the stage of JD Vance, by the way. On the Democrat side, a surprise shift. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro emerging as the most predicted nominee, surpassing California Governor Gavin Newsom in perceived viability in that race. A potential Vance-Shapiro matchup would pit two younger candidates against each other and could once again put Pennsylvania in the so-called blue wall at the center of American politics. Joining us now with analysis, the managing editor for the Daily Signal and author of the book Woke-to-Puss, The Dark Money Cabal Manipulating the Federal Government, Tyler O'Neill. Tyler, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Tyler, the next presidential election is years away. Potential contenders already making themselves known. It's interesting, though, only 2 times in our history has a vice president become president. And so it's not very likely, at least statistically, to happen in terms of President Trump and Erica Kirk naming JD Vance as President Trump's successor. Also, there's some backlash from MAGA, surprisingly. What do you think will ultimately happen? Does this make JD Vance the head of the octopus, which is easier, the woke-to-puss, as you might say, is easier to sort of eliminate, right, than if he weren't the named successor? What do you think happens here?
Well, I think it's far too easy. It's far too early to tell based on, anything can happen in politics. Something can reshape the field in literally minutes. We've already seen, this year felt like 10 years stuffed into one, and I expect President Trump is not going to slow down. That said, there are some very interesting things with this. I think the fact that you have so many conservatives supporting Vance still speaks to his strength in the party. I think the fact that Erica Kirk stood out there with him. But of course, let's be clear here. Erica Kirk didn't say, I'm endorsing Vance for 2028 and I never will change my mind. It's quite possible that something can happen. So I think JD Vance is in the driver's seat. He needs to do everything he can to lead well and to show the party and the movement that he will stand for conservative principles. And I think, he's done a great job standing up for free speech in Europe. We've seen him making some big moves. And we'll have to see if he ends up being that guy, 3 years from now. We're talking a while. But I think the more interesting thing that came out of this story is Josh Shapiro edging out Gavin Newsom. I'm not sure either of these gentlemen is going to be at the top of the Democratic ticket when it comes to 2028, but I think it's very telling that Gavin Newsom, who has long presented himself as the left's golden boy, who is trying, he tried to triangulate after Trump's victory. He had Charlie Kirk on his podcast and even acknowledged that there was some injustice of having men compete against girls in women's sports. And yet now he is doubling down on trans issues. He still has to maintain. He's trying to do 2 things at once. He's trying to appeal to too many people, and he's not standing for his own principles, which is one of the reasons why he's weak here. I think Josh Shapiro is well known for being a little bit less of a leaf in the wind, but at the same time, I'm not sure how many people actually trust Josh Shapiro. I mean, he was out campaigning for Abigail Spanberger and refusing to call on Jay Jones to drop out of the attorney general race in Virginia this past year. So there are so many things to handicap when it comes to a 2028 primary race. But I do think, Shapiro his greatest strength right now is that he is a little bit more of a moderate in that party. But I also think that the left is not going to allow a more moderate voice to be the bearer without giving clear concessions in the same way that Joe Biden did. I mean, Joe Biden came out and he acted like he was a moderate from the beginning. By the end of that primary, he was supporting pretty much everything that Bernie Sanders wanted. And so we've got to be paying very close attention. We might end up seeing Josh Shapiro lead the Democrats in 28. But if so, it's not going to be the Josh Shapiro we know now. It's going to be a more radical version because the woke-topus is still very much in control of that party.
Yes, agreed on all of that. Yeah, it's Gavin Chameleon, there's no doubt. And then Josh Shapiro, who the heck knows what kind of version we're going to see of him. And you wonder, can I just say it straight up? Are the Democrats going to elect a Jew as the nominee? I mean, that's a legitimate question, and that needs to be discussed. But for another time, let's talk about Kamala Harris because she's such an intellectual heavyweight, and she is back, making her rounds. She's getting the usual softball treatment from Univision, and she's thinking about running for president. And I can't believe I just said those words. And here she is in a recent interview. Have a look.
Running for president, I think it may look easier than it is. And it involves a lot of people, especially the people who love you and are in your life and care about you. You have to know why you're running. And as far as I'm concerned, you have to do it when you understand and have a sense of connection to what the people need and want.
What
Go ahead.
in the world?
I think she was right that you have to know why you're running, and I think she's exhibit A of not knowing why you're running. She has wanted to be president for a long period of time. At first she said, oh, well, that Joe Biden guy, he's a racist. We can't support him. And then when there's an opportunity to be his vice president, she's like, sign me up. I don't think anybody knows what Kamala Harris really cares about besides attacking conservatives and Christians for what they believe. That was the most animated I've ever seen her. And to be honest, I was a little bit scared of the prospect of her being anywhere near the top of the ticket. But as soon as she became vice president, it's this bubbly, vapid, empty suit. I don't think she's a real force for 2028, but we have to see. There is always a chance. The fact that she was the last nominee may count against her, but many of us on the more conservative side of the aisle would love to see Kamala Harris in another vibes election in 2028. Yeah. I think
Harris Crockett
might bode rather well for the other
2028.
side.
Yeah, great.
Hey, Tyler, look, we've been talking a lot about 2028. Can a brother get through 2026? That's my focus. Yes. I'm just looking at 2026. Let's not even look beyond that. So I'd like to get your perspective on concerns or optimism as it relates to Republicans, particularly in the House, maintaining the current, even though it's a slim majority, but the current majority. And I ask that question, given that there are a number of sitting Congress members who are going to be leaving Congress to run for state office. Andy Biggs comes to mind. Nancy Mace over in South Carolina. Elise Stefanik not running for re-election. Look, there are lots of seats that are now vulnerable, I would think. Your concerns or your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, I think we should be concerned about this. We should also be concerned about the fallout from the redistricting battles. We're going to see, there might be another potential bite at the apple in Indiana. Perhaps they should redraw maps to make them a little bit clearer and try to bring some of the Republicans back to the table on that issue. When it comes to redistricting, and one of the things here, I prefer that we have an election on the issues. But unfortunately, based on the way that Democrats have weaponized redistricting for so long, Republicans need to respond strongly because we just saw, I'm in Virginia, the National Democratic Redistricting Committee, which is Eric Holder's previous group, shoveled a whole bunch of money into Abigail Spanberger and the House Democrats in Virginia, pushing redistricting in a state that had just 4 years earlier created a constitutional amendment to make redistricting no longer a political battle. So there is nothing off limits for the left, and I think the right needs to wake up. and see that we do need to have some redistricting fights. That said, the overall issue, I think affordability, as much as Trump rightly says it's a con job to suggest that he's the main one who's responsible for inflation, that is a con job. But the issue of affordability is real. And I think the White House has woken up to this. JD Vance has been speaking about it on in Pennsylvania. We've seen a lot of movement, both on the right and on the left. I think the American people want to hear a solution for how our prices are going to go down and how our wages are going to go up. And President Trump has been achieving large strides in that direction. One of the main things is his all of the above energy strategy, which I think really impacts people's lives. You see it in the numbers at the gas pump. We have to see how the big, beautiful bill works out. And then Republicans need
Tyler,
to have
I'm so
another
sorry. We are
round of
totally out of time, so I don't mean to
run.
cut you off, but we are totally out of time, up against a hard break here. Tyler O'Neill, thank you so much for being with us. Coming up, a major media meltdown inside 60 Minutes. Staffers threaten to quit after a segment on Trump's deportation push is pulled at the last moment. That story next on American Sunrise.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted.
Seditious conspiracy.
But behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th, like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they lived.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking. They are standing. And they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
They tried to silence them. Instead, they woke up an entire nation. The Sleeping Giant. Coming soon.